2:37 p.m., September 26, 2025. Over the icy Bering Sea, the U.S. Air Force responded to the multi-layered, tense provocation of Russian aircraft pushing tensions to the brink of a global crisis. How do you break the will of a seasoned Su-35 pilot without firing a single bullet? The answer lies in the U.S. Air Force's invisible kill chain worth billions of dollars. And this is exactly how the U.S. Air Force activates it in just 3 minutes. The Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone, America's steel outpost, a 200 nautical mile buffer where every intruder must identify itself. The world is a geopolitical pressure cooker, but Russia still dares to test the limits. From bases in Russia's Chukotka region flying southeast across the Bering Strait, penetrating deep into Alaska's AWACS along the western coast of the state, just about 100 nautical miles from U.S. soil at the closest point. Russia unleashes a provocative formation, 2 massive Tu-95 Bears, Cold War relics with a 164-foot wingspan, speeds of 575 mph, 4 15,000-horsepower engines, each escorted by 2 highly maneuverable Su-35 Flanker E's radar tracking 30 targets at 124 miles vector thrust of 31,000 pounds. This isn't a flyby, it's a bold probe asserting dominance in the Arctic where melting ice opens routes for shipping and resources. Russia is testing America. If there's no response, they'll roam from the Arctic to NATO's European flanks. How could the U.S. let that happen? Alarms blare in the command center at Eielson Air Force Base as ground radars at Clear Air Force Station light up with incoming contacts detecting aircraft beyond 200 miles out. Eagle 1 to center. Targets confirmed. 4 bogies entering AWACS. I'll lead the intercept formation. Within 3 minutes at 14:40, 4 F-16 Fighting Falcons are airborne. The pilot slams the throttle to full 29,000 pounds of thrust, roaring behind him, pinning him to the seat. The airframe shudders. The speed needle surges past Mach 1, then Mach 2. Everything outside blurs into streaks. Supporting the F-16s is an E-3 Sentry airborne warning and control system aircraft packed with radar capable of tracking low-flying targets at 250 miles and higher altitude threats even farther. To extend the engagement, 4 KC-135 Stratotanker refueling aircraft take off each, carrying 200,000 pounds of fuel, delivering it at 200 gallons per minute. This isn't just a response, it's a meticulously staged demonstration of integrated warfare. How does America stay cool when the enemy is pushing the limits? Satellites orbiting 482 miles above Earth feed real-time data to NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain Complex, while ground radars and airborne assets form an unbreakable kill chain, detect, track, engage, dominate. As the Russian formation pushes deeper into Alaska's Air Defense Identification Zone, the Russians aren't here for a stroll. Their aggressive posture with the Su-35s weaving provocatively is a direct challenge to U.S. resolve, as if daring the eagle to blink. They're about to learn that's a deadly mistake. A cold voice cuts across the international emergency frequency. Russian aircraft, this is the U.S. Air Force. You have violated protocol. Depart immediately or face escalation. But the Russian aircraft seem to ignore it, paying no mind to the warnings broadcast across the sky. The Russian pilot presses on into the ADIZ, unaware that this could ruin his entire career. In the lead Su-35 cockpit, the Russian pilot grips the stick tightly, eases the throttle, and banks right provocatively, cutting across the projected path of the American formation as he's sending a direct challenge. His wingman follows suit, another Su-35 surging ahead, suddenly barrel rolling to block the view of the approaching F-16 from below, forcing the American pilot to adjust course immediately. The F-16s close in their radars, locking onto the Russian aircraft with sub-meter precision, capable of tracking 10 targets and engaging 6 simultaneously. From 30,000 feet, the E-3 Sentry orchestrates the intercept, relaying real-time intelligence via the Link 16 network, a secure data link with 0.001 second latency, turning each aircraft into a node in a vast, impenetrable web. No guns, just raw physics. Russia wobbles. But a new problem, they escalate electronically. Tension coils tighter than a spring. These Su-95s close dangerously, diving into the F-16 as jet wash, creating chaotic shock waves that could rattle a lesser pilot. A high-stakes game. One miscalculation and both become fireballs. These maneuvers, designed to break the U.S. formation, generate wakes strong enough to mimic a Category 5 storm, shaking the airframe with gusts up to 200 miles. But American pilots forged through 180 hours of annual flight training and drills simulating peer adversaries don't flinch. The lead F-16 pilot's right hand grips the stick tight, while his left pushes the throttle to maintain distance. Suddenly, a Su-35 dives lower, slicing across the F-16's nose just tens of meters away, the Russian engine's exhaust whipping the American jet's right wing, making the frame groan as the pilot yanks the controls left to stabilize. His wingman reacts instantly. Another F-16 surging up banking to cut off the retreat, sandwiching the Su-35, the American engine's wash rocking the Russian lightly, forcing its pilot to pull up hard to avoid collision. 1452. The American formation has enveloped the Russian flight path from the south. He clearly didn't expect the U.S. military to hit back so hard. In a textbook tactical move, the lead F-16 pilot's right hand grips the stick left hand, shoving the throttle to maintain distance, igniting afterburner mode, unleashing a 3,000-degree F exhaust plume at 1,200 miles straight into the path of a pursuing Su-35. In the Russian cockpit, the pilot feels the piercing whine clearly. The Su-35 shakes violently, its frame bucking, forcing the pilot to break off. No shots fired, no missiles launched, just a raw physics warning from America: back off or regret it. The Tu-95s and their escorts scramble to regroup. Yet Russia doubles down, escalating the provocation in a bid to assert dominance. Another Su-35 climbs high, circling over the American formation, before diving sharply, slicing across the distant E-3 Sentry's path, forcing the command aircraft to make an emergency altitude adjustment, its radar flashing warnings. The Russian pilot is flaunting arrogant confidence, unaware he's about to face the full might of the U.S. Air Force. The maneuvering duel pauses. But the real showdown is just beginning. On the electromagnetic spectrum, the Su-35s deploy jamming pods. They create a digital fog trying to blind the F-16's sensors. American screens flicker chaotically. The problem is, you can't blind a god's eye. The U.S. cockpit screens flicker with interference, forcing the pilot to switch to backup data feeds from the E-3 to maintain the link while adjusting course to minimize jamming impact, ensuring command chain continuity. NORAD's multi-layered defense is primed. Lurking in the digital shadows, another predator awakens, the EA-18G Growler. It doesn't fire missiles, it fires ghosts. On Russian radar screens, F-16 signals flood in. The entire sky drowns in decoys while the real F-16s vanish into digital void. The Su-35's radar, Russia's pride, is now utterly useless. This electronic chess match showcases U.S. superiority, turning Russia's high-tech gambit into a futile gesture. The Russian bear still doesn't know it, but he's about to pay a Su-35 pilot adjusts position to compensate for jammed radar closing in, to exploit close range and re-establish lock slicing across the lead F-16's path and forcing evasion, testing America's strategic patience limits. The real turning point comes when a Su-35 pilot, perhaps overconfident, locks his radar onto the lead F-16, triggering a piercing missile warning in the American cockpit. Radar lock, hostile intent confirmed. This is no longer a joyride. The American formation reacts instantly. Maneuvering to break the lock, the lead F-16 rolling to evade the projected path, while requesting command support, layering defenses from wingmen and the E-3 to prevent escalation and maintain defensive superiority. Inside NORAD's Cheyenne Mountain Complex, generals weigh it in seconds. A full engagement risks catastrophic escalation, but inaction invites more aggression. The order comes down: Eagle 1, weapons tight, repeat warning shot. With absolute precision, the F-16 pilot executes a hard break, pulling Gs that would crush the untrained, and fires the M61A1 Vulcan cannon, a 6-barreled beast spitting 20mm rounds at 6,000 per minute. A short burst streaks across the sky, close enough to warn without direct harm tracer fire, arcing just over the Su-35's canopy, near enough to feel the heat, far enough to avoid impact. The Russian formation rocks violently, the Tu-95s swaying to dodge vortices from escort engines, Russia forced to prioritize safety over provocation, marking a shift from offense to defense. The Russian pilots' nerves crack. The formation wavers. No blood spilled, but the message is unmistakable. America doesn't play games. The Russian pilot hesitates, slipping into passivity. As the Russians waver, a steely, resolute voice booms again over the international emergency frequency. "We repeat, Russian aircraft, this is the U.S. Air Force. You have violated the rules. Depart immediately or face escalation." From the clouds emerges an F-22 Raptor with a radar cross-section of 0.00001 square meters, smaller than a marble, making it invisible to Russian sensors until now. The Russian formation, realizing it's trapped in a U.S. asset web, disintegrates, fleeing the ADIZ in a hasty retreat. No sovereign airspace violated, no shots exchanged beyond the warning, but America controlled the entire board and owned the sky. This intercept wasn't just a tactical win, it was a strategic statement. Billions in U.S. tech for a free lesson to Russia. A humiliating lesson, a massive miscalculation of overreach written in fire and steel from American jets. No war, just dominance. For America, it's a clear message: we set the rules and we enforce them with unmatched precision. The U.S. response is a masterclass in integrated warfare. If you found this video thrilling, share with friends and subscribe so you don't miss more top-tier military stories. Comment below. What weapon analysis do you want next? F-35 hypersonic missiles or another battle? See you in the next video.